Hi, Ahmed. Great to see you. Thank you very much for being here. I'd much rather be in a pub or a cafe with you, but need to be. So we're here to have a chat online. Lovely to meet you. Thanks for being here. How's it been for you the last week or so?
It's been it's been all right for me, and I think the main reason it's been relatively stable is because I am used to working from home. I've been working from home for almost 5 years. So that kind of lifestyle for me is just continuing regardless of what happened over the past 1 year. And it's kind of good to have that stability because for other people, it's a shock to the system, isn't it? It's like, what happened? A whole new way of living, a whole new way of working just exploded into my face. But for me, it's been stable. So, of course, this personal life is different. Of course, the social things and being able to socialize, that's different. That's changed for all of us. But in terms of getting on with my day to day job, it's been okay for me.
That is why how we got to meet each other because you posted something on Twitter about the whole thing about how do we adapt in COVID times, and it was a shock to me because I'm so used to being outside of my home, being with people, being in different places, and I got to a point there where I don't know how to adapt. I just don't know how to adapt working in this environment where the spare room has now become the office and now it becomes the studio because I've been there pretty much for the whole year. I'm still trying to find ways how to adapt. And it's really interesting because I'm so glad I came across your Twitter because at that very point people were asking me how do we make work online, how do we do it? And at that point, I was going the other way because I didn't know what I was doing. So, so it's good because you already had that kind of stability of working in a home environment where I haven't. Is this something you've always wanted to do in working in a home, or you adapt quite quickly, or do you feel more comfortable being out in the public?
I have always been curious about it. So before I did this, I had the job that you go out to an office, you go to a premise, and it was fine. But then, just like a lot of people, the aspect of the commuting part and other things around that made it very difficult for me. And then, working environment, it's very hard to adjust it to the way that makes you be able to be as efficient as possible, and it's out of your control. So I decided to take back control and I wanted to be able to work from home because we had the technology 5 years ago. Zoom was around for many, many years, and I've been using Zoom for 5 years anyway. So it's nothing new for me. But the idea that I can control my working environment, that was a big deal for me because you can understand that if it's a very noisy environment, then it's difficult to hear people. If it's a kind of environment where you're not able to have the right technology to help you work, then that's going to make things very difficult as well. So that was a big deal for me to be able to work the working environment so that I can be the best version of a working person I can be. And thankfully, I managed to adapt very quickly to that, and it allowed me to deliver. And I think it allowed me to deliver better because of the setup I have, which took time. I was able to deliver my work better in my environment than one that has been forced upon to me in the previous office that I worked in.
Yeah, I mean, I think It's really interesting you saying that because a lot of to learning, I never heard of Doom. I've never heard of remote prototyping. It's one of the biggest things is trying to find the right asset. And I get in this kind of chaotic, crazy heavy mode where I struggle so much. So I think I started to learn to understand a little bit about how remote prototyping works, how Doom works. And I'm so grateful to come up to when I saw your how do you call it, a handbook or a manifesto, if you like. And it got me thinking so many different ways how we could think and about how we could work remotely. And I did want to touch upon about this website. It's called Hear Me Out CT. I'd love to know a little bit more about what your kind of inspiration came about for that.
Sure. So it was a long time coming because prior to launching that a couple of years ago, I was very quiet about my deafness. I tried to hide it as much as possible. I didn't tell people. And this has been going on for decades. And it came to a point where it was actually getting more and more exhausting trying to hide it because you're hiding your true self, you're hiding your true identity. And that itself is quite exhausting. So gradually over time, I thought, maybe I should be more open about it. And I've been going on that journey, and then there was a spur of a moment where I was encouraged to do a video. And I did like a 3-minute video. It's like in a competition where they ask you to make a video about letting go. And it's basically about letting go anything that you feel like it has been holding you back in some way or form. So for me, I have allowed my deafness to hold me back because I put it into my head that it's a negative thing, it's going to hold me back in life, I will not be able to succeed. Of course, that's not true, but it's just that mental barrier that I had. So I decided to let go. Basically, I did that by just telling the word on my very, very first YouTube video a few years ago about me letting go of this stigma that I put on myself. And that was kind of the trigger when I decided to be more open, just test the water, try to create more content, create more videos and blog posts and podcasts. And as I continued to do that, it became like a creative outlet, but it also became quite therapeutic for me. So I was able to share stories, share my knowledge, help people. And in return, the feedback has been incredible. People reach out to me to say, thank you for this because it has helped me. And I'm not just talking about people who are deaf, I'm talking about hearing people who said, this guide has helped me to launch this initiative that I wanted to do and make it as deaf accessible as possible. So the fact that the content I've created has benefited both the deaf people and the hearing people, well, it's great. And the feedback in terms of public comments and social media and private messages and emails, it's been incredible. So in that itself, that obviously it feels good. You feel like you're making a difference. So I decided to continue to do it, and I was as consistent as I can to just share my story and my knowledge so that I can help as many people as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you've done some really great things. First of all, did you win the competition for the
I
video?
did, yes, I did, and the trip was to meet this person. His name is Pat Flynn, and he is based in San Diego, and he flew me over from Edinburgh to San Diego just to spend time with him. And he's someone I looked up to a lot, and someone who I appreciate what he does, and someone who is very, very busy, who doesn't necessarily do this to everyone. So just from that 3-minute video alone, it has opened up a lot of things for me.
San Diego, I've always wanted to go to San Diego. What's the best bit about San Diego?
Oh,
I just love traveling and it's been to San Diego. And I imagine you've probably been to lots of places as well around the world.
San Diego has the Californian and sea culture that combined together. It's really, really nice. And it's not, it's a big city, but it's not like overwhelming like San Francisco or New York. It's manageable and has a good vibe to it, but it is definitely probably my favorite city in the US right now.
I'm so glad you won that competition then and meant to be then. In terms of like how you'd be traveling, do you find that sometimes when you go to different places with the accent, did that become a barrier for you in terms of communicating?
It's funny because if you think about it, there are going to be language barriers anyway. So, you know how it is. People think that if you speak louder or shout, you will hear better, even though it's not your language. No,
Yeah.
that's not the case. So, in a way, we kind of have like similar problem. If that person doesn't understand my language and I don't understand their language, well, then we're in the same situation. So, it didn't become a barrier as much for me when I needed to communicate because we had to use some kind of translation or writing down things or go on your phone and work out how to say, where is the museum? And we managed to get by. So I'm thankful that it didn't cause me really a big problem. It's only really at the airport. The airport is always a tricky moment because the tannoys are useless and the announcement on the planes are useless to me. So that was really the main barrier. It's just the airport and then the plane. But once I'm at the destination, most of the time, it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's something that had always bothered me, and it's really interesting you see it more of a positive rather than a negative. I think language can be, I suppose, translated in many different ways, but it's something that I'm fearful of going to, I suppose, another country. I just recently performed in Paris, and I could not understand one person when I was there, and it made it even worse because they're all wearing masks as well. So, how's that been for you in terms of mask wearing? Is it something that you challenge people with that, or do you just let it go?
It's tough, definitely tough. And I didn't realize how much I was dependent on lip reading until the mask situation it became public outside of a hospital. And it was very, very tough. What I found though in my experience is that anybody who I'm familiar with, if I'm familiar with their voices, it's not as bad. As if my ear is used to their voice because I know who they are, I know how they sound like, I know how they say certain things. I didn't realize that until afterward,
Yeah,
and that was really interesting for me. Whereas if it was a stranger and they had a mask on, I mean, I pick a few pieces. It's like a jigsaw. You have a few pieces and then you try to put it together, and in your head you try to put it together. But it's definitely more challenging trying to listen and hear people whom I don't know compared to people that I do know and wear masks. But at the end of the day, I obviously, in an ideal world, I'd rather there are no masks.
and I think one thing I've realised wearing a mask and going out to the very simple thing, like going to a shopping trip, and how much I'm dependent on it. And I get really embarrassed when I ask somebody, where can I find the Jaffa cake? And it's a very simple thing, and I just don't know what to do. I find myself retreating a little bit and saying, "Look, I'm deaf," but for me, it's almost like the more time that I have to say I'm deaf, I can't. I need to read lip. It drained me. It really drained me, and it made me realise how much I guess we're dependent on lip reading. Um, I mean, often people would say, "Can you wear a clear mat?" But I've worn the clear mat. They steam up and they're uncomfortable. But I think like you say, I think we have to find ways of how we communicate. And my way of doing it, I get it trying to communicate with people visually. At no point me getting angry with them. I mean, I did at the very start of lockdown. I had it on my phone. I used to type on my phone saying I'm deaf, and it would flash like crazy because I was so angry with everything, and I realised this is not the answer. So yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking a little bit about what you said about the creation of your website. You said something about letting it go. Would that mean that you're letting go and finding your deaf identity?
I guess you could say that because I didn't think I had one, and I was in denial that I have one if it exists. And it never really made sense to me because I never really made it part of who I am and my life publicly and visually. It's always something that it was a secret. So I guess it's about just being able to be myself. And it's a very cliche thing people say, isn't it? Be yourself. But I thought I was. I thought I was being myself by just going my day-to-day life and playing sports or going to work or socializing. I thought I was being myself. But then just like you said about how it become very, very exhausting and tiring because it is exhausting trying to hear all the time. I realized that it's actually really damaging for me mentally, but also it is not helping the other people because if they don't know who you are truly, then they are not going to be able to help you as much as you'd like them to. How are they supposed to help you if you don't tell them? How are they supposed to help you if they have no idea what's going on? And over time, I got used to that idea. I became more comfortable with it. And I think part of growing up, you become wiser and more confident because when you're a teenager, it's a bit different. And over time, that allowed me to gradually develop my own version of deaf identity. And that's why it was a really important stage in my life to just let go of that barrier. It's not going to hold you back in life. And I've learned that the hard way. And of course, I wish I did that a long time ago, but it's never too late to start. I'm doing it now. I wish I'd done it a long time ago because I've learned that being able to let go of that idea, it actually made things easier in terms of for me, for my sanity, for my mental health, and for my relationship with other people, whether they are people who I know or strangers. So thankfully, I did manage to let go of that chain around me and I was able to be free and be who I am.
Yeah, I think I'm much more. I let it go. I mean, I let it go. I posed 4 or 5 years ago, but I really started thinking about my deaf identity. I was conscious the fact that I wouldn't be accepted in the deaf world because I speak, and then I'm also conscious that I'm accepted in the hearing world because I speak. And so it was kind of that middle road thing. And if that's something you're familiar with, in the post, I posed you're in between the two worlds. Do you feel inclined to be part of one of the world or inclined to use both worlds?
It's
So that world and the hearing world.
it's what you said, isn't it? It's like you're trying to fit in the deaf community, but the fact that you communicate orally, people will frown upon on that. But then you're not part of a hearing world because you're not able to hear everything like a normal hearing person can do. And it is that weird middle bit. It's the awkward bit in the middle in terms of the in-betweener, if you like. And it used to be really annoying for me. I always, like any human being, you want to feel like you belong somewhere. And a sense of belonging is just in our biology as human beings. You want to be part of a community. And I struggled with that for many, many years. And I think to some extent, I still struggle with that. But over time, I became comfortable with it. And I realized that by being in the middle, I am really the bridge between two words. And I can connect with both words and I can have access to the best of both worlds. And then on top of that, I can create my own word, if you like, one that suits me. And I don't have to conform to how society say I should live and how I should act and how I should be toward people. I have my own section there where I have access to both and I can bridge that gap. And then I'm able to connect with the right people. And that's the challenge is to connect with the right people, but you're able to connect with the right people from both worlds. So because I grew up in mainstream school and mainstream university and everything in terms of my upbringing and a lot of my life really is mainstream, of course I have a strong connection to that word. But now that I've let go and I'm gradually developing my own deaf identity, I'm able to also connect with the deaf community. And one way of doing that, for example, is I am part of a deaf football team in Edinburgh and I connect with them.
That's great.
And I'm getting better at sign language. I'm not perfect, but I'm getting better. I'm able to communicate with them more. So I have that connection as well. And I think that's a great thing. I mean, this is why people love traveling, isn't it? Because you get to expose yourself to different culture and different people. And I'm seeing it like that now. I'm seeing it as a way for me to expose myself to different people, different background, different everything. And for me, it makes my life a lot richer because of that experience. So it's a negative. It is something that caused confusion for me and frustration. But for me also, there are a lot of positive that comes out of being the in-betweener.
So you talked about that football. I mean, that is fab. I mean, it's something that I connect so much better regarding whether I know sign language or I speak. I connect great with the deaf community who accept me from who I am, and it's great that you're using this this way of playing football with other deaf people. What deaf football like? I mean, I remember playing rugby and I scored the best try I've ever scored, only the fact that I couldn't hear the whistle. And everyone would laugh at me. I'd run down 100 yards down the rugby pitch and everyone on the other side laughing. So I imagine it's not like that in deaf football, would it? Or I imagine it's slightly different to a normal game of football.
It's definitely different in terms of communication. So, in mainstream football team that I have been playing all my life until now with the deaf football team, you shout command and you shout warning. And, so for example, if you have the ball and someone approaching you, you shout man on because there's someone, a man on your back or approaching you. But I can't shout man on to my deaf footballers because they will not be able to hear that. And if they're not looking at you, I'm not exactly going to be able to sign that either because it's just not possible. And you're focused on their situation. So that's the big difference, really. It's a communication and to get your message across from one end of the pitch to the other end and try to communicate. That's the big challenge. But then on the other hand, maybe you can make it your benefit. So we do try, for example, when we play a team who are full of hearing people, then obviously we can communicate in secret about what we want to do. And sometimes that has worked to our advantage as well. So, we've got special powers in one way, but of course it's very different to it's a different kind of football game, if you like.
I had to come and try and watch you sometime. If they ever come into Edinburgh, I would come and watch you. I think it'd be great to watch. I know I keep going back to it. Your website, Hear Me Out TT, and I'm fascinated with it. Or I spend like a good few days just reading about you. And I'm quite bored of looking at your face all the time. But you have a beautiful face, so that's great. But I loved it. I loved all the stuff you so articulate in what you do. If you had to look at a younger Ahmed, let's say you were 10 years old, how would you react to that website you're doing now?
Shocked. Absolutely shocked because the idea of being public about it to the world on the internet and people can see it, Oh, no. You can't do that to yourself. You need to hide yourself. You're going to ridicule yourself. People are going to make fun of you and you're going to be mocked and you will not have a career and you'll be able to, you know, be further behind than ever before. All of that. And it's not right. Of course, it's not right. And that's the problem. That's the mentality I had when I was younger. And in a way, because of that experience, I want to be able to help other young children, teenagers, and around that age, and even older people. It doesn't matter how old you are, but when you have a mentality as a child, it does affect you for the rest of your life. And I want to be able to reassure people that you're not a freak, you're normal. And who you are can be your own special power. And that special power can bring you greatness in your life. You can't see it, but it will come. And we have to be ourselves in order to be able to show our superpower to the world. Because if you're hiding it, you're only kidding yourself. And people who are admiring you, they're not really admiring you as a person because you're bringing your fake persona. They admire that fake person. Why should you put all that effort into making people like the other version of you when you want people to like the real version of you? And that's why I wish I had someone tell me that. And of course, you've got, you know, people like my parents and my friends and certain people that say, oh, no, it's okay, it's okay. We don't think like that. They have good intention and they can kind of understand, but they've never lived that life. They don't truly understand like we can. So sometimes I wish I had a connection with another deaf person, hard of hearing person who is older than me and lived a very interesting lifestyle. And that person tell me you can do it because you can do it. I've been told that I can't in my life. I've been told that I will never be able to succeed. I've been told that I will never be able to go to university. And I did it anyway, so screw you. But I wish I had someone tell me that. And I want to use that website as a way to tell people that you can do it. I'm a living proof of that and learn from my mistake because if you learn as early as possible on how you can be your truly amazing self, then your life will become a lot richer for it.
Brilliant. That's really brilliant. I mean, I'm loving the kind of connection I'm having with you, you know, and I wish I had a deaf role model to tell me, an older person to tell me that you can do it, because I spent years in school, teachers telling me I can't do it, I can't act, I can't dance. You know, I shouldn't sing. Of course, now at the age of 43, I decided, fuck it, this is what I'm doing. I'm acting, I'm singing, I'm dancing, because that's how it should be. But I often think, what if I were told that I can do all of those things when I was a teenager? And you can imagine all these young people probably in the same situation like we were when we were young. And so it's great that you're thinking about, you know, working and empowering, I guess, young people, because young people need to have a voice. They have the right to have a voice, but they don't. Is that something that's something you're trying to do down the line with what you're doing now, and in terms of, I suppose, going to school, or how you reaching out to them, or
It's using the power of the internet, isn't it? And I'm not a, I'm not someone who's truly obsessed with social media, but I mean I use it, but it's not like my main place to be vocal and be myself. I like using my website as the hub for everything, and then you can find everything that you're looking for from there. That's the idea: to use the internet to make a positive impact, because we all know that there's a lot of crap on the internet. It has had a damaging effect in some way to society, to democracy, to the world in some way. But of course, a lot of good can come from the internet. And I wanted to use my background because I'm lucky that I have that tech background, I have that digital marketing background, and I'm able to use my skill from my professional career to make a positive impact as well. And that was something that was I'm really passionate about. I'm really wanting to create the type of content that is accessible, that is reachable, and it's also educational, informative, hopefully entertaining, but also make a person realize that you are worth it. You know, you are more than worth it. You can change your life if you just change that mindset a little bit and not let other people decide your fate and your life. And that was important to me. So it was unintentional that my website turned out to be like that because it was kind of a place for me to express a creative outlet. It was therapeutic for me. But then it actually became very impactful for some people, like I said, hearing and deaf people. And the fact that my way of expression has made a positive impact on the web and the world, I can't complain.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I think it's great that you'll be able to put it out on the video or YouTube video across social media, and I connect with that. I do it through performing. I don't really talk so much about my deafness. I suppose if I were a 10-year-old Johnny Cotton, I certainly won't. I grew my hair really long, tried to fit in with, I guess, the crowd, got expelled from school, did all of it, become a bully, and I'm embarrassed. I'm really embarrassed by a lot of these things. So the Hear Me Out website, you just talked so passionately about it, and is that something you're doing on a full-time basis, or have you moved on from there, or just let Hear Me Out run its course?
It hasn't run its course. The difficulty I'm having is that it has always been like a side hustle for me. And previously, I used to be full-time freelancer, which then allowed me to adjust my time around Hear Me Out CC. But then a few months ago, I went back into full-time employment, and at that time trying to get used to the new job, and it takes a lot of energy and trying to get used to the new system, new working life in a way, and that meant I had to pause Hear Me Out CC. And it's hard work actually creating all the content and managing it and maintaining it because I'm only doing it myself. I'm paying for everything, and I'm trying to allocate as much time as possible when I'm creating content. So it has taken a pause, but I'm not ditching it because it would be a shame to ditch something that is making a difference. And this is just doing it on, in my opinion, a small scale. When I've got more plans, more ideas, more content ideas that I want to put out there, that will also help people. So I really want to continue doing that, get back into creating content because people are asking me to. And I'm flattered that people want me to do that, which means that it's helping them, it's making a difference. So I am aiming to come back. It's just a new working way of living right now, a working lifestyle right now has changed. So it's just about finding a routine, create a system, and get back into it.
So you say the lifestyle changed that because of COVID and that we're in lockdown, and is that the reason why you say because of the lifestyle change, because of the past year and dealing with the pandemic and everything else?
It's more around my professional lifestyle, my working
Okay.
lifestyle. Of course, my personal life has changed to no end. I mean, everyone is going to be able to relate. about the lack of socialization, for example, and we can't do that. Yes, that had definitely changed. The because I paused hearing my CC, it has nothing to do with COVID really. It's just because I changed job, and it just the changing away of going my day to day work. But in terms of my personal life and COVID, yeah, it changed in so many different ways. Whether it's seeing more people trying to speak to me with mask on, or not being able to see people face to face, and as much as we can use technology to communicate, but the issue with virtual conversation is that you will miss certain things that help us to understand people, like body language, for example. You can't even see certain things in the body, and sometimes people put their video off, so you can't see their expression, you can't lip read. Some people don't put lights on, or they don't have good quality audio, and that makes it difficult to communicate virtually. And because you can imagine that during COVID, the amount of conversation online has exploded. On one hand, okay, it's better than a phone call because you can't see people, but we are still in the early stage where people are not really understanding the best practices when it comes to doing a video call. Make sure you have good lighting, make sure you have good audio, make sure we can see you, turn your video on, don't talk over other people, one person at a time. Little things like that can make a difference. But like COVID is just a new experience. Virtual living, virtual communication, virtual working has changed completely. So I don't want to be critical of people too much about that, which is why I have got content about how to make your virtual conversation more accessible and easier for deaf people to be able to keep up. And that is also really popular content, which is timely, which is great. But it's definitely easier to communicate with people face to face, in my opinion, because then you are able to fit all the jigsaws together. And that includes the non-verbal communication, like body language, for example.
Yeah, I think so. I think I agree. I think there are the one thing I miss a lot is seeing people, because not just about lip reading, it's the body language. I'm interested in what they're wearing, and I'm interested around them. But now I'm more interested in what behind you in the room, so sometimes on Zoom we just look beyond the person. Don't really interested in all your books and that lovely guitar you got there, and the artwork you have on the board. And but yeah, in a way, I think it's more about trying to adapt in, I guess, a new way of living. I suppose. I mean, I spent many years and still spending a lot of time campaigning for the right asset in the physical space. As a consultant, I work as a consultant, and now going into the virtual world, struggling, and it's almost like I have to start all over again because I built myself way up.
Mhm.
But then I came across your Made in handbook and thought, oh my God, what a relief. Because, it's almost like I could use that model you've already done in some content you've already done, which I can relay that to the people who want help in terms of making best practice. So the COVID had changed, I think, a lot for not just deaf people, but people in general, really. What would you say your high and low did the past year?
There's no doubt that the low is socialization has gone. I
Yeah,
mean, I think that is applicable to everyone. It's just a basic human need is to be able to be part of a community physically, be within your family, be within your friends. It's nothing flashy, nothing over the top in terms of just because we want to be around people. That's just a basic thing that we all need as human beings. So of course I can relate to everyone. That is the main low. In terms of the high, I think I can think of a couple of things. And one is that the ability to add the option of working from home, I think is important because there are people out there with different kind of disability. If they can work from home, it actually makes things a lot easier for them to be able to find a job and to be part of a workforce and to earn a living. And I think that's really, really important because working from home, even though it has been around for decades, it's now becoming more and more normal. And I think that's a positive thing. I think it should be part of a working lifestyle. It doesn't have to be like 100% remote, 100% working from home. It can be 50-50 or 80-20, whatever it is, whatever it suits you and the company. The other high, and I'm being maybe overly optimistic, is that there's been an increase in video-based content. And because there are more content around that and people can see it, I feel like this means that it's even more important to make sure that they're captioned. I remember I read a couple of years ago that the technology company Cisco, they said that by 2019, approximately 80% of the world's internet traffic will be video. The thing is, that was before the word coronavirus existed. And over the past year, more and more people are being creative, want to start their own YouTube channel or even their own home video, just having fun with videos. And of course, more conversation are happening online. And I feel like because of that, there is an increase of emphasis and need to have captions on your videos. So I'm quite optimistic that because of that, because of a massive increase in video based content, I think people will be thinking about it, they're more aware of it, and then it's up to them to take it to the next level. Maybe I'm being ambitious, but I'm optimistic. I would like to think that with the help of my website and other people who are always vocal about can you caption your videos, I'm hopeful that more and more people will do it, even after COVID has disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be hopeful. I think because, like you said, so many people are doing video content, but I've seen so many people on Twitter or social media saying, "Why do not caption? Why can you not make a caption?" And they're really important content, some of them. And for me, it a knock-on effect because I'm constantly wanting to find performative to be captured. I'm constantly searching ways of how to make them or how to find ways of how to set up a performative. So I really hope, I mean, you're saying you're optimistic about how we should be doing video content that should be captioned or more editable. So that's absolutely fantastic. So it's almost like so if we're saying that I mean, COVID it changed, like you just said, COVID had changed our thinking about, I suppose, online content. So I suppose if you were going to say, if you had to reset the button in the way that, let's not go back to where it was before, let what would be the new normal for you? I get like what you're saying, captain content, people working more, flexibility at home. What other things do you think could be the new normal in the future? Or what would
I
you like to see?
I really hope that the new normal, which I hope will last forever, is a newfound appreciation for the basic things in life that we take for granted. The going to the cafe, restaurant, and pub, the flexibility of going anywhere around the world if we wanted to, the ability to just meet up someone at a spontaneous meetup for no reason whatsoever, just being able to do that. A few years ago, we'd be thinking this is a normal thing. There's nothing special about it. It's just a normal everyday thing. But now we realize, wait a minute, those normal things are actually special. They're so special
Yeah.
that we didn't realize it until it has been taken away from us. So what I'm hoping that that new normal, which of course a lot of people hate that phrase, new normal, what I hope is that there will be a newfound appreciation for the simple things in life that we take for granted. And I hope that once things go back to normal, I hope that we don't abuse those simple things because we have just seen how hard it is to live without it. And if you are going to have that taken away from you again, we all know that the world will panic and not survive. So hopefully, people will appreciate what they have in the future when things go back to normal.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, that's great. That's really great to hear that, and I totally agree with you. With a lot of those things, it's that human connection I get, and it's really important. And sometimes I think maybe we've lost that a little bit. Definitely before COVID, we lost that, and I think it's quite ironic today that deaf people are very good at listening, where hearing people just hear. In other words, they could look at their phone or they could look at them out and they could hear them, but they're not actually listening. So maybe there is that kind of appreciation that maybe things will be different, in a way how we interact with each other. That is great. So obviously we've been in lockdown for pretty much a year now. Have you missed any kind of rituals or things you used to do, or certain habits, or little things, and you generally get quite excited about?
I miss just going discovering, and that's something that I've discussed with my wife several times. We live in Edinburgh and we have access to amazing locations in Scotland. And we enjoyed sometimes just going somewhere, whether it's by car or by train or whatever, go somewhere different, someone new, just like that, for no reason, just to discover. Other time for a long weekend or a longer break. Those were the normal things that we used to do and really enjoyed. And I think that would be the one thing that I miss the most. I know people talk about, oh, I miss traveling and I want to go to the Maldives or something. I'm not saying Maldives. I'm saying Scotland for me. I'm happy to go around Scotland even more and discover. Yes, I will go abroad, definitely. But it's just something that I miss a lot. Being able to just get in a car and go to a new location, a new restaurant, a new place that we've never been before. And again, it's a simple thing, isn't it? It's just a basic simple thing that I I will be appreciating more in the future. And I don't want it to be taken away from me ever again.
Yeah, I think it's been. I have a burning question to ask you. You've got a lot of books behind you, and I like to imagine you'll probably have a good interest in books. I've just finished reading. I just finished a book, and I'm desperate to read a new book or a book. Do you have any recommendations?
I'm obsessed with books, and
Are
I
you-
will
Right.
I will happily read all day, every day, reading books, and that's definitely my big pleasure in life. And I've got a variety, and I read books for various reasons, but there are a few books that have helped me a lot in the way I think about things. And one book which is related to what we're talking about in terms of barriers and obstacles. One book I really enjoy is called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And the main essence of that book is that it follows a philosophy called Stoicism. And Stoicism is something that I have been reading a lot about, been interested in, and helped me a lot in my life. The obstacle is the way really focuses on making you aware that if you have this barrier in front of you and you're looking at it as an obstacle, you don't have to turn back and you can't go forward. You are going in the right direction. And just making me think like, okay, there's this wall in front of me. Maybe I can turn back. No, don't turn back. We can find a way around it. We can find a way over it. And it's allowing you to think in a different way of how you approach a problem. And that's something that you and I, we face every single day in terms of accessibility and barriers. But if we change how we look at that, it can change your life. And that book, I've read it several times. It's definitely one of my favorite books out there. And I would recommend anyone to read it. You don't have to be deaf to read it. It just makes you think about obstacles in a different way using the principles of Stoicism, which has been around for thousands of years.
Brilliant. Wow. I think I'm definitely going to go on Amazon after this conversation and probably buy the book. And I really hope that maybe the next time we speak, I could share that with you. Wow, Ahmed, been absolutely pleasure to talk to you. It's been really interesting to hear some of the connections we both have, some of the barriers we face, and some of the highs and some of the lows. So yeah, just want to say thank you very much for your time, and good luck with the Hear Me Out website and empowering all the more young people to be thinking about themselves, and I hope you could be that role model for them. So yeah, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Maybe a game of football or something.
I'm up for that. We can have a game of football or rugby if that's your preference. I'm flexible. But likewise, thanks for inviting me. I enjoyed the conversation, and yeah, let's continue making a difference in the world.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate. Thank you.